Today we're asking, are we at a real estate tipping point? And if not, when will we be? Snazzy. Well, right now I'm getting asked a lot by experienced investors and beginning investors, especially those part of my real estate investing course who are emailing me or leaving messages on our boards. Is real estate at a tipping point, and should we be concerned? What should we be doing? I've made a lot of videos covering some of these parts sort of separated. Now I'm going to pull it all together and try to give a concise explanation of what I think is going on, what we need to keep an eye out for. So the first question that often comes up is this time different? Is the fact that we're seeing price drops this summer a sign that maybe the Case-Shiller index is right that says home prices are at the highest point they've ever been at? Is housing really unaffordable? And are the impact of interest rates going up over 1% in just the last 10 months alone, combined with the punishing Trump tax plan, really going to take down real estate? See, we already know that housing sales volume plummeted this summer. We saw declines upwards of 20% in areas like New York and California, of home sales declining so fast that sellers can't even keep up with the price reductions. And that's why we're starting to see articles like this that allude to today's real estate market as another 2009, where sellers have to cut prices so much because housing prices are plummeting. But is that really true? And what other indicators can we look to see what really is going on in real estate? Is this time different from what we're used to? There are a lot of us that are pessimists, and there are a lot of us that are optimists, and then there are a few of us that are just outright crashers, which essentially the economy's crashing no matter what you hear. But when the Federal Reserve releases minute meeting notes that say they expect GDP to slow in 2020 and the unemployment rate to start its ascent, that is more unemployment at the end of 2020 and more in 2021, maybe we are in a path of starting to see problems. Then, of course, we have a massive student debt crisis, which we wonder, how will student debt affect consumption and essentially the market as a whole? And does that relate back to real estate? Which also begs the question, does our dream of a pension fund supporting us in our older age really seem like a dream, or will it be a reality? Will pension funds fall apart, and how will that affect the housing market? Well, I think the problem is there's no clear answer here. Real estate has changed dramatically, and maybe real estate isn't even the place to look for the answers. See, back in 2008 and prior to the recession, 10% of people were getting what were called option arm loans, negatively amortized loans where their principal balance was increasing while they were making payments. 25% of people were getting interest-only loans to increase their affordability, and egregious loan violations, ethics violations, and fraud was rampant. A lot of that has since changed, where back then 50% of loans were considered subprime. Today, maybe only 5% of loans are considered subprime. In fact, homeownership delinquency rates are at all-time lows. Real income is at the highest point it's been in a very long time. And banks? Well, banks have 3 to 4 times the reserves on hand that they had pre-recession. And even though debt seems to be ballooning, the percentage of folks' disposable income that is dedicated to these household debts is at rock bottom. But look, I'd be naive to say that homeownership affordability isn't a problem. I mean, look, most people earning a median wage can't afford, especially states like California and New York. Is that fair? Is that equitable? Is that what we should base our country on? Or is that just an excuse to suggest that maybe prices should fall and maybe you should wait before buying? Well, now look, not all of us might have crystal balls, but it's certainly interesting to argue that maybe we should stay on the sidelines a little bit and wait to see where our tipping point is, that inflection point in the market. And when is it then that I expect to be able to see this next tipping point, this next inflection point, and what should we do until we get to that point? Well, unfortunately, looking at real estate prices as an indicator has been relatively unreliable. So what should we look at next? Because right now, all we're hearing is lagging news of price drops, and unfortunately, that's because a lot of unrealistic sellers are finally starting to realize, I gotta be realistic. So what should we do? What should we watch out for? Well, it seems to me that 2019 could be our big tipping point. While the federal funds rate continues to get increased by the Federal Reserve, which it is expected to increase both in December and March, we might be interested to see what's going to happen in April, May of 2019. My prediction is there are two main things that could happen with real estate. Well, look, real estate might not be the best indicator because maybe the next recession will be a global crisis. If emerging markets fail to make their repayments on U.S. government debt denominated in dollars, well, then we could see a collapse of emerging markets dramatically affect the economy in the United States. Plus, we could also see the removal of the entire world's, the international use of the petrodollar and replacing it for something like a petro-euro, which could dramatically weaken the strength of the dollar. Both of these individually, possibly enough to throw us into recession. But when we look at real estate, we want to ask ourselves, well, wait a minute. We want inflection points in real estate. And so here are the main two things that can happen in real estate. One, if the Federal Reserve does raise the Fed funds rate, which again we're expecting, and we see mortgage rates jump, say 0.5%, well then, as you already know, we have come up with the 10x rule for interest rates, which says that for every 0.5% increase in mortgage rates, we could expect a 5% decline or a 10x decline in purchasing power. Then that might mean if interest rates on mortgages go up 0.5%, we could see negative 5% appreciation in real estate. Blend that together with what the economy does. As long as the economy grows by more than 5%, we could see stable real estate prices. And this upcoming spring could be the telling point as to, is that how the economy is going to respond? Look, if prices go up 10%, we see rates go up 0.5%, maybe real estate will go up 5%, and we won't see that real estate crash that so many of us are expecting. On the other hand, if the economy grows dramatically slower, then maybe real estate will be on sale next summer. Maybe waiting would be the best option. And right now, what we should really do is sit down, enjoy big fuzzy pink pillows, and relax and wait on the sidelines for those discounted deals next summer. The only problem with that potential is, think about how many people are already talking about, well, if prices go down, I'll buy then. Which, in other words, we could potentially just absorb any declines in prices thanks to the plethora of people on the sidelines waiting to buy real estate. There's nothing easy about real estate, so that's what makes it so tricky and complicated. But what are those tried and true rules that we could pretty much always take advantage of when it comes to real estate? Well, we can go back to memory and remember, what were the kind of loans that defaulted in 2008? Because the last thing we want is default. Well, variable rate loans, interest-only loans, and short-term financing. And if we just stay away from those and work together to focus on 30-year fixed-rate financing and affordable terms and buying properties in the wedge so that we have built-in equity, so that way, even if we're just putting 3, 5, 10% down and the market does fall, maybe because we bought such a good wedge deal, we're really at an equity position of 20 to 30%, which that's always my long-run recommendation. Get your equity positions up. Remember, real estate's a long-run game, so why try to play the short term? If you find a good deal, get in. But make sure to do so wisely and wash yourself of all that dirty junk that's out there. Stay away from subprime. And in the long run, you'll be okay. So yeah, will 2019 be a tipping point for us? Without a doubt. We'll either see the real estate market continue on its path, albeit a little bit slower, probably closer in the 1 to 3% range, who knows? Totally just a prediction I just made up like that. Or we'll see declines of maybe that same 1 to 3%. Is it also possible that we'll see an outright crash and we'll go back to the gold standard? No doubt. Also possible. So there's just no answer right now. But hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight. And keep in mind, the real estate-centric data might not be the place to look because right now, the real estate data doesn't support any kind of plummet. But global economic data might be more concerning. Stay vigilant and smash that subscribe button. Because after all, who wouldn't want to spend a day with Meet Kevin? Click the link in the description if you want to spend a day with Meet Kevin this Saturday. Oh, you're still here. Oh. And definitely leave me a comment. Let me know you made it this far because I appreciate you.